I lost my legs while saving Shinji. 3 years into our marriage, he allowed his friends and family to insult me. When I confronted him, he pressed his brow impatiently and said, "They're just stating the facts. At that time, I never begged you to save me. No one ever asked if I wanted to be saved." All the affection I had in my youth turned to ashes in that moment. That night, I mixed sleeping pills into his milk and, while he was deep asleep, I severed his legs. I fell asleep holding him as he screamed in pain. When I opened my eyes, I was back 3 years earlier, before the accident. 1. Shinji is really something, sticking with a cripple for 3 years. Bro, you don't get it, maybe Iji has some weird fetish, this cripple in bed. If you ask me, Jianghe is too crafty, trapping Iji for life with one leg. Laughter echoed from the private room at the hotel, and I stood outside, clenching my fists, when the laughter stopped. Shinichi's deep voice could be heard. "Enough is enough." Someone feigned surprise. "No way, you didn't really fall for that cripple, did you?" After a pause, I heard the words, "How could that be possible?" "What I mean is, I don't have any special fetishes. Dealing with a cripple every day is annoying. If it weren't for 3 years ago, sister-in-law, what are you doing here?" The door to the room opened, and all eyes turned to me, mocking, sympathetic, but not surprised. Shinichi looked momentarily flustered and guilty. He strode towards me, his tone full of blame. "Don't you know your own situation? What are you doing here, sitting in my wheelchair?" I faced him and silently raised my phone. "You told me to come an hour earlier." Shinichi had sent me a message saying he was drunk and asked me to pick him up. I was pushed into the room by Shinichi, who sighed with his eyes closed. "Are you happy now?" The men who had just mocked me raised their hands laughing. "Sorry, sister-in-law, we were just joking. Wanted to see how much you care about Iji." They said the message was sent using Shinichi's phone by them, just to prove how much I loved him. Their disdain was unmistakable. I looked at Shinichi blankly. He seemed to have known all along. "I didn't know you would really come." He saw through my thoughts and pressed his brow helplessly. "Think about it, even if I was drunk. Any friend could have driven me home. What could you do by coming here?" I followed his gaze to my legs. What could I do? Probably just rush out in a wheelchair after receiving the message, troubling the taxi driver to lift me into the car. Thinking back, I was really foolish, eager to be their joke. "Since there's nothing wrong, I'll go back first." I lowered my head and wheeled away, but someone stuck out a foot to stop me. "Jianghe, don't rush off. It's not right to leave without having a drink." Someone handed me a drink, but I'm allergic to alcohol. I looked at Shinichi again, but he chose to remain silent, facing a room full of spectators. I silently took the drink. "Truly Jiang, holy shit," he gasped in surprise, because I threw the drink in his face. "You damn cripple, what are you doing?"
Ah.
I switched on the wheelchair's electric mode and mercilessly ran over the foot that blocked my way. Behind me was a chorus of curses, but I ignored them and thoughtfully closed the door of the private room for them. 2. Shinichi caught up with me, showering me with accusations. "Jianghe, don't be too much. They are all my friends." He reached out to pull me back, but I stopped him. "They are your friends, but I'm your wife. Do you not see when your wife is being insulted and do nothing?" Shinichi pressed his lips together, a subconscious gesture that showed he knew he was at fault but was unwilling to admit it. Suddenly, I felt it was all so meaningless. I wheeled myself towards the front door. It was only when I reached the doorway that he caught up to me again. "They just speak without thinking," but what they said was true. I had no interest in Shinichi's lame excuses. Rubbing my moist eyes forcefully, I tried to keep my voice calm. "Let's get a divorce." Shinichi was stunned, immediately objecting. "No, I can't divorce you." Puzzled, I looked at him. Why not? I had heard it with my own ears. He said he didn't like me. I used to deceive myself, thinking that although his friends didn't really accept me, his love was enough for me. Hearing those words today made me realize how foolish I had been. The evening breeze was chilly. Shinichi took off his jacket and draped it over my legs. "It's my fault. Those were just drunken, nonsensical words. Don't believe them. Anyway, we're not getting a divorce, all right?" Wrapped in Shinichi's mint-scented presence, I couldn't hold back my tears. He pushed my wheelchair down the bustling street. "I'll take you home." As he pushed me leisurely along the night street, he seemed lost in thought, not even noticing a pothole in front of us. After I voiced a warning and he apologized, silence fell again. I hesitated before speaking. "I want you to know, if it's a burden, if you don't love me, we can get a divorce." I had loved Shinichi for 10 years, but that didn't mean I'd cling to him desperately. Shinichi sounded unhappy. "I've told you. We're not getting a divorce, Xiaohe." I closed my eyes and stopped talking, memories flooding back. 3 years ago, the moment the laboratory ceiling collapsed, I instinctively pushed Shinichi out of the way. I saved him but got hit myself, losing consciousness. That day, I had planned to confess my feelings to him, to conclude my 7 years of unrequited love. When I woke up, the first thing I saw was Shinichi's red eyes. "Jianghe, are you out of your mind? Who asked you to meddle?" I tried to speak, but my throat was hoarsely dry. I wanted to tell him it was okay, because I liked him and it was my way of repaying the kindness of the Shin family. My parents died when I was very young, and without the Shin family's help, I would have had a tough life. Trying to get out of bed to pour myself a glass of water, I realized I couldn't feel my legs. Guilt flooded Shinichi's eyes even more. He took my hand. From now on, I'll be your legs, Jianghe, let's get married. I must admit, at that moment, happiness overwhelmed me. Okay, Shinichi, I've actually liked you for 7 years. Shinichi tightly held my hand and said nothing, and I unconsciously ignored the reluctance in his eyes. In the morning, Shinichi had already left. There was a glass of warm milk he had left for me on the bedside table. I've been busy at the company recently. Don't wait for me for dinner. I took a sip of the milk. It was sweet. I've never liked drinking sweet milk. The clattering noise outside the door was followed by a loud shout, "Sister-in-law, good morning." It was Xinyi's cousin. I sighed deeply, thinking this was truly a big problem. Xinyu Yan affectionately wrapped her arm around me, her eyes full of sarcasm. "Sister-in-law, you really know how to cause trouble for my brother. At yesterday's gathering, there were several important contacts my brother needed to win over. Your outburst really ruined him. What should we do now, sister-in-law?" I looked at Xinyu Yan calmly. "You can tell Xinyi to divorce me." After the rush of happiness faded, I could sometimes feel Xinyi's helplessness. He always kept a certain distance from me. His friends weren't like that with me at first. I understand that they were only speaking the words Xinyi couldn't, so, I've said more than once that if it's because of a life-saving grace, there's no need for it. We could get a divorce, but he always refused. Xinyu Yan scoffed. "You don't think that my brother refuses to divorce you because he likes you, do you?" She forcibly pulled me into a wheelchair, and I struggled helplessly. What could a cripple resist? She chuckled in my ear. "Come on, let me show you something interesting." The interesting thing Xinyu Yan referred to as Xinyi intimately dating another girl. Through the glass window of the couple's restaurant, I saw Xinyi tenderly adjusting a stray hair from the girl's forehead. The love in his eyes was nearly overflowing. Xinyu Yan pursed her lips. "See that? That's the person my brother really likes." I didn't understand. "Then why doesn't he divorce me?" "It's not me who is clinging on," Xinyu Yan angrily said. "Isn't it because you took it upon yourself to use your life-saving favor to blackmail my brother? If he divorces you, what would he become? An ungrateful person? You pretend to be generous, but isn't this all your own scheming? I don't understand why everyone thinks my saving Xinyi was a ploy." I lost my legs, but he lost his freedom. The people inside were too focused to notice me outside the window. I laughed and wheeled closer, gently tapping on the glass. Xinyu Yan didn't expect me to do that. Her face stiffened. "What are you doing?" "It's funny, it was she who brought me here, yet she only allowed me to watch and then suffer in silence. She was too late to stop me, and the two inside noticed us." Shock, panic. Xinyi quickly appeared in front of me. "Jianghe, let me explain." He didn't know what to say, and glared at Xinyu Yan. "Who let you bring her here?" Xinyu Yan pouted unhappily. "I feel sorry for the real sister-in-law. Especially since you two have been in love for years." I stood there dumbfounded. In love for years. But before I tried to confess, I had indirectly asked Xinyi if he had a girlfriend. He said no, otherwise I wouldn't have mustered the courage. "Jianghe, you go home first," Xinyi scolded Xinyu Yan. Then called a car for me. "Wait," I raised my hand to stop him. "I want to talk to that lady inside." "Jianghe," Xinyi frowned, clearly displeased. I gently pulled his hand. "You'd better listen to me, otherwise, I don't mind shouting about catching a mistress in public. I'm disabled, and I've seen too many strange looks over the years. I'm immune. The only ones who will be embarrassed are you." Xinyi's frown deepened, but he must care about the person inside, and the next second, he pushed me into the restaurant. Is this your wife, the one who saved you back then?" The girl seemed to know me. She propped her head with one hand and smiled at me. "Hello. My name is Lin Sui Sui, Yiji's first love." She behaved like the others, showing no malice toward me, yet it was all malicious. "Yiji, why don't you take your cousin to sit over there? I'd like to have a chat with Miss Jiang." With just a few words, she took control of the situation. Shen Yiji and Shen Yuyan sat not far away, looking over at us with worried eyes. "Miss Jiang," Lin Sui Sui leisurely stirred her coffee. "You know, if it wasn't for you, I would have been the one marrying Yiji." I didn't know. I told her. "I've never seen you in his circle." I had no idea he had a first love. Lin Sui Sui looked up, her eyes somewhat resentful. "We were in a secret relationship because of my family background. Ishi said his family would never agree. Only Yu Yan supported us quietly. We were in this secret relationship for 2 whole years, ready to confront our families about it before the accident happened. Unfortunately, you came into the picture. No wonder Shen Yuyan hated me so much when she found out I was going to marry Shinichi. But how could that be my fault? I asked him more than once if he had a girlfriend. He chose to hide it, and after the earthquake, he chose to marry me." Lin Sui Sui seemed to guess my thoughts and chuckled lightly. "Are you curious why he insisted on marrying you?" I looked up at her, my intuition telling me that the answer would not be pleasant. "Because he found your secret diary of unrequited love, Jianghe." Lin Suesue's tone was bitter as she spoke. He didn't find it earlier or later, but just after you lost your legs and were unconscious, in front of the Shin family elders, and you say it wasn't intentional, Miss Jiang, my mind went blank, so he had read my diary. Shen Yiji initially pretended not to have seen it, but Shin's aunt saw it first. The elders meant well, I was raised in their eyes, and the Shin and Jiang families had been old friends for many years, so that day, Shin's aunt asked him. Do you like Jianghe? She thought, if both had feelings, it wouldn't be bad for them to be together. Unexpectedly, Shin Yiji thought it was pressure from the elders. I will marry her. He gave up Lin Suisui under what he perceived as pressure and married me. So that was it? I thought about how I had excitedly opened my heart when I learned Shin Yiji was going to marry me. It felt like a joke. He could divorce me now, but he hasn't. That's what I couldn't understand. Lin Suisui showed a mocking smile. Because you are useful, Yiji is at a critical period for a promotion. How would it look if it got out that he abandoned his lifesaver? Miss Jiang, you've already put him in a difficult position once. Don't make it hard for him a second time. Such scheming. Who knows if the death of your parents was retribution? I couldn't hold back. I threw the coffee in her face. She could say anything she wanted, but she should never have brought up my deceased parents. Jianghe, what are you doing? Shin Yiji quickly shielded Lin Suisui in front of him. I pointed at her. She insulted my parents. Lin Suisui was in a sorry state, tears spinning in her eyes. I didn't. I was just explaining our past to her. It was her. Shin Yiji looked at me angrily. Apologize. I stared at them for a long while. She laughed. Okay, before I apologize, can I say something to you? Shin Yiji didn't speak, which meant he agreed. Come closer, I'll only tell this to you. He walked over and slightly bent down. Slap. I slapped him with all my strength. Let's get a divorce. Shin Yiji's face turned utterly dark. Jianghe, I've told you, we can't get divorced, so it's about preserving your own face and reputation. But this time, I'm not willing to compromise myself for his sake, then wait for the lawsuit. I turned my wheelchair to leave, but was forcefully pulled away from it. I was thrown to the ground. Shin Yiji's eyes blood red. Divorce. Who would want you when you're a cripple? I looked at him incredulously. Unable to believe these were his words. Was I born a cripple? Shin Yiji was annoyed. Yes, you are my savior because you saved me. Please, was I begging you to save me? Did anyone ask if I wanted to? I would rather be the one disabled. Do you know how much guilt this has caused me? How much have I lost because of this grace? Do you know? He lamented the pressure he felt owing me his life. I wish you hadn't saved me. I stared at him blankly. A faint stench wafting in the air. Under the immense humiliation, I lost control. Seeing this, Shin Yiji quickly carried me back to the wheelchair. Look at yourself. What can you do without me now? He looked at me with disdain and covered me with his jacket. I'll take you back. You need to calm down. Shin Yiji called a car for me, driven by a plump middle-aged woman. He had instructed her in advance, giving her a little extra tip to help me back upon arrival, perhaps sensing my poor mood. Before leaving, she gave me an encouraging gesture. Girl, there's still hope in life. She probably thought I might consider suicide, but I won't, because just half an hour ago, I received a message from a stranger. It was a screenshot of a chat. Bro, Shin, your wife is determined to divorce you. Huh? It seems you can't maintain the devoted husband act with President Gu anymore. But no worries, if one path is blocked, we can take another. Do you remember President Chi I mentioned before? He loves playing with disabled people. Jianghe fits perfectly. Since she's divorcing you anyway, you can use this chance to catch her cheating. That way, you won't have to bear the stigma of abandoning your lifesaver. Tomorrow night at 9. Don't say I didn't give you a chance. He said a lot, and Shin Yiji's reply of, okay, left me completely hopeless. So cruel, blaming me for saving him, pressuring him, and still squeezing the last bit of value out of me to pave his way. I don't know who sent me this message, but whoever it was, I need to thank them. Xiaohe, I'm back. Shin Yiji returned, drunk as a lord. He staggered over and squatted in front of me. I'm sorry. I was a jerk during the day. Can we not divorce, please? I looked at him calmly, showing a gentle smile. Okay, really? I nodded, handing him a cup of hot milk. About today, I was also at fault. Drink this milk. Sober up. I've booked tickets for the Maldives for tomorrow. Shall we go on a trip together? Shin Yiji first panicked, then became bewildered. Let's talk about it tomorrow. All right. I smiled as I handed him the milk and watched him drink it. The drug acted quickly, and Shin Yiji collapsed to the ground unconscious as I expected. It's indeed troublesome when someone can't walk anymore. It took me a whole 2 hours to sever Shin Yiji's legs. He woke up halfway through, and his frantic screaming forced me to stop and stuff a towel into his mouth. He shook his head wildly. I quickly reassured him. It's okay, I won't kill you, I just need your legs, after all. You don't really care for them, so why not give them to me? He made a whimpering sound, probably begging for mercy. I pasted the chat log onto his face, and he finally quieted down, left only with pain and despair. As dawn broke, I finally managed to chop off his legs, and my knife was dulled. Shinji passed out and woke up several times. After I finished, I removed the towel from his mouth, and he was barely breathing. Jiang, never mind. I stuffed it back in, I didn't want to listen. I realized too late that my life was ruined the moment I lost my legs. Since he wanted to destroy me completely, I had to destroy him first. I lit the charcoal in the room and fell asleep holding the sobbing man. It was good, at the moment of awakening, to remove a beast with a human face from this world. I didn't expect that I could still open my eyes. The numbness in my legs made me widen my eyes in shock. I was reborn, back to before the accident happened. I jumped up suddenly, startling everyone else in the lab. Junior sister, are you okay? I stared at my legs and responded perfunctorily. I was back in my second year of grad school. Initially, to get closer to Shinji, I chose the same major as him and even managed to join the same group. But then that accident made me give up my studies. Feeling the strength in my feet, I trembled with excitement. It was May 8th, 1:27 p.m., 10 minutes before the ceiling would loosen and fall. In the past, I had pushed Shinji aside to save him, but ended up getting crushed by the ceiling myself. Jianghe, what's wrong? A pair of large hands touched my forehead. It was Shinji. Do you have a fever? Do you need me to help you take a leave? I instinctively avoided his hand, and there was a hurt look in his eyes. Our strange behavior caught the attention of others. Are the little couple fighting? Usually, I always followed Shinji around. And since he neither accepted nor rejected me, everyone joked and called us the little couple. No, he has a girlfriend now. I have nothing to do with him. I quickly denied, feeling unlucky to be involved with Shinji in this lifetime. Seeing how quickly I refused and even mentioned his secret girlfriend, Shinji was slightly stunned. He lowered his voice. Jianghe, is there some misunderstanding between us? I looked at him and suddenly understood the weirdness between us. At this moment, Shinji did have a girlfriend, yet he was still ambiguous with me, even unwilling to admit it now that I had pointed it out. Was he looking for a thrilling romance while not wanting to give up the benefits of my affection for him? So the person I had liked from the beginning was rotten? Be careful, a shout interrupted my thoughts. The ceiling started to fall just like in my previous life, with Shinji right in the center of it. And I was just on the edge of the falling ceiling. In my previous life, I had pushed Shinji out of the way without regard for myself. This life, I quickly ran away from the danger. Xiaohe, Shinji incredulously called out to me. The next second, the ceiling came crashing down. And after a cry of alarm, Shinji passed out. Out of a sense of duty, I still called emergency services for Shinji. The doctor said that Shinji's legs were ruined, and from now on, he would be confined to a wheelchair. I barely managed to suppress my laughter. Jianghe, why didn't you save me? When Shinji awoke, his voice was hoarse and tearful, as if I had betrayed him. You could have pushed me away. I tilted my head and said, Shinji, stop pretending. I know you're back too. Before we got married, Shinji never called me a Xiaohe. And just now, he was asking why I didn't save him. Caught in his act, Shinji's face turned red. He had planned to stand on moral high ground to induce my guilt. I sat next to him and gently patted his leg. Shinji, your legs are useless now. Do you remember what you told me in our past life? Was it me who begged you to save me? Did anyone ask if I was willing? I would have rather been the one disabled. I smiled at him. You didn't want to, right? Well, congratulations. You got your wish. You don't have to feel guilty because of me. Now you've just lost your legs, but you can live openly, without forcing yourself to carry unnecessary burdens. Shinji was stunned, his face a mix of colors as if a palette had been overturned. Jianghe, how did I never realize you were crazy? Can't you tell when someone is just venting? His expression matched exactly how he arrogantly claimed he didn't need my rescue in our past life. If I saved him, he blamed me. If I didn't, he still blamed me. I couldn't hold back my anger and slapped him, knowing I'm crazy and still talking back. Want to get your legs chopped off again? Hearing my words, Shinji suddenly shuddered. Too many things had happened in quick succession, and he had almost forgotten how he had died tragically in his past life. I was out of my mind. I've always disliked women like you. It's better not to be forcibly tied down in this life. He was struggling to regain his dignity. 10 minutes later, Aunt Shin arrived, looking exhausted. Eiji, Uncle Shin couldn't come back from a business trip abroad, leaving her to bear this terrible news alone. Auntie, don't be too sad. At least he's still alive. Being alive is what matters. I offered her symbolic comfort. In our past life, she wasn't particularly bad to me, but neither was she very good. Before I married Shinji, she truly treated me like a daughter. After we were married, she did genuinely feel sorry for me. but that sympathy couldn't withstand the passage of time and her own son's size, so, when Shiniji's cousin bullied me, she chose to turn a blind eye. Jianghe, be careful with your words, Shiniji said anxiously. He didn't want Aunt Shin to worry, but now he couldn't even turn over by himself. Xiaohe, his father and I are busy. Thank you for taking care of Iji, Aunt Shin sobbed, holding my hand. I know you have feelings for Iji, given the current situation. She broke down crying again. I understood her concerns. She was worried no one would want Shiniji, just as she had worried about me back then. I spoke openly, Auntie, I only see Shiniji as a brother. Besides, Shiniji already has a girlfriend. Aunt Shin looked incredulously at Shiniji. Is what Xiaohe said true? Shiniji pursed his lips tightly. He hadn't planned to reveal this so soon, but I had forced his hand. I thoughtfully added, I've already notified her to come. I don't want to be the third party who breaks up a relationship. I hope you understand. As soon as she finished speaking, Lin Suisui, dressed in white, appeared at the door. Her reaction was very similar to Aunt Shin's, shocked and crying. Aunt Shin had seen Lin Suisui before and didn't really like the girl, thinking her family background, having 2 older sisters and a younger brother, was not a match for her son, given the current circumstances. Aunt Shin couldn't say much more and excused herself to go buy food. Iji, the sight of Lin Suisui, her eyes red from crying, was particularly pitiful, but Shiniji avoided looking at her. Jianghe, you shouldn't have called her here, with me like this. How can I? He couldn't continue as the bedsheet showed a light yellow stain spreading. Lin Suisui instinctively took a step back, a hint of disgust in her eyes. Shiniji caught this reaction, and it was a blow to his pride. Jianghe. He pleaded with me with his eyes. I was unmoved. What are you thinking? You can't possibly expect me to handle this. Your girlfriend is here. Is this appropriate? After scolding Shiniji, I turned to Lin Suisui. Miss Lin, I've heard bits about your love story. If love means a lifetime together, then you should start learning how to care for someone with disabilities now. Under my urging and moral coercion, Lin Suisui struggled to help Shiniji up. The bathroom door slammed shut. And I didn't miss the resentful look on Lin Suisui's face. I smiled, recalling when I faced adversity. They were indulging in their lofty, unattainable romance, separated by circumstances, under the pressure of daily life. Could they remain as steadfast? After briefly explaining things to Aunt Shin, I left. Shiniji had his mother and his girlfriend. He certainly didn't need me, an outsider, to interfere. I resumed my normal life, attending classes, free to walk and run as I pleased. The long-lost sense of freedom was intoxicating. I heard that Shiniji, stubborn as ever, was diligently undergoing rehabilitation every day, but to no avail. Aunt Shin contacted me every now and then, her words laced with dissatisfaction towards Lin Suisui. Essentially, she was not as caring or attentive to Shiniji as I had been. Shiniji wanted to reach out to me, but unfortunately, I had blocked all his contacts. 3 months later, while dining with my fellow students, I unexpectedly ran into Shiniji and his group. Lin Suisui was pushing Shiniji's wheelchair, both of their faces looking grim. Lin Suisui was busy scolding Shiniji, unaware of my presence. What are you doing here as a cripple? Isn't that embarrassing? Her tone of disdain starkly contrasted the gentle demeanor she used to show. It's no wonder Lin Suisui lost her temper. I had discreetly learned that the romantic love Shiniji thought they shared was a long-planned scheme by Lin Suisui. Coming from a poor family, she hoped to change her fate by marrying a man with a wealthy background and not too much intellect. Shiniji had appeared at just the right time, but unfortunately, he had been intercepted by me in his previous life. As for this life, feeling despised, Shiniji's face turned red. If I don't come, how would I know what you and your friends say about me? Lin Suisui scoffed. That you're a cripple, a man who's no good anymore. Are they wrong? Look at yourself. I even have to help you use the bathroom. What else are you good for? If it weren't for getting away from that family, who would want to be with a cripple like you? Shiniji trembled. What? What are you saying? Lin Suisui ignored his murderous gaze. If I had known how troublesome it is to care for a cripple, I would have chosen a different target from the start. Shiniji roared. Let's get a divorce. It's good that the wedding hasn't happened yet. It turned out they were already legally married. It seemed Aunt Shin knew her son's situation too well and no longer allowed him to be choosy. Lin Suisui punched him without any courtesy. Divorce? Do you think I don't want that? Serving you for 3 months almost made me sick. If it weren't for your damn mother, do you think I'd willingly marry you? Once the demure facade was removed, she showed her true, fierce colors. Yet, such a person is a perfect match for Shiniji. I couldn't help but laugh out loud, and they finally noticed me, seeing me. Lin Suisui quickly dismissed Shiniji like a hot potato. Perfect timing. Take your brother away. Originally, when Shiniji and Lin Suisui were secretly dating, he always introduced me as his sister. Lin Suisui glanced coldly at Shiniji. I'm going back to the party. Don't cause me any more trouble. Lin Suisui walked away without looking back, leaving me and Shiniji face to face. What he's experiencing now is exactly what I went through back then. Shiniji, do you remember what your friends used to say about me? Shiniji turned his head away, his body trembling imperceptibly. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I cut him off. You knew everything. It's just that you didn't care because it wasn't happening to you. Come on, don't be upset. If you ask me, Lin Suishui is actually quite decent to you, she just scolds you a bit. She didn't hand you over to some old man with peculiar tastes, right? I meant to comfort him. But his face turned paler. No, Xiaohe, listen to me. I didn't mean to really hurt you. I had everything arranged. I had scented incense burning in the room in advance. He would have passed out before he could touch you. And the next day you just had to pretend, he was frantically explaining until he saw my icy, piercing gaze. Actually, by that time I had already started to fall for you. Slap, I slapped him with all my might. Feeling that one slap wasn't enough, I hit him several more times. Jianghe. Sheniji was shocked and angry, but now he couldn't fight back. I held back my anger. How dare you talk about love? Sending me to another man is love? Letting your friends insult me is love? Cheating is love? You don't love me? You just realized that your first love doesn't care about you anymore since you're disabled, and all you wanted was someone who is completely devoted to you. Do you think someone as selfish as you deserves to talk about love? From that day on, Sheniji never came looking for me again. My days became more carefree, and occasionally when people mentioned Sheniji, they said he was not doing well. I heard Lin Suishui was decent to Sheniji in front of Aunt Shin, but behind his back, she did nothing but beat and scold him. I guess Sheniji must really love Lin Suishui to endure such treatment without a word. Shen Yuyan called me a few times, treating me like a confidant. That Lin Suishui. I used to think she was kind and gentle, but she turned out to be so malicious. Jianghe, it would have been great if you had married my cousin. I just laughed. Don't talk nonsense. Sheniji and I are like siblings. On the other end of the phone, Shen Yuyan pouted. You're not really siblings. Aunt just took care of you for a few years. You're not even on the same family register. Jianghe, why don't you disrupt the marriage? It's set for the beginning of next month. Hearing her say this, my eyelids twitched. In a moment of clarity, I remembered that before my marriage to Sheniji, Shen Yuyan hadn't been so malicious toward me. After I married Sheniji, she suddenly changed, becoming closer to Lin Suishui instead. Now that Lin Suishui was marrying Sheniji, could it be seemingly casual? I asked. Yuyan, you don't happen to like? Before I could finish, she repeatedly denied over the phone. How could that be? How could I possibly like my cousin? After a long silence, Shen Yuyan hesitantly said, well, maybe a little, but he's my direct cousin. It definitely can't happen, so I want to find a good sister-in-law for my cousin, Jianghe. Won't you really consider my brother? I smiled, brushing off the question as I saved the recording. I'll be there. Shen Yuanyan let out an excited cheer. A month later, I showed up at the wedding venue. When I arrived at the wedding, Sheniji was being pushed out by Lin Suisu to greet the guests. Feeling humiliated, Sheniji gritted his teeth. Did you really have to bring me along? Lin Suisu slapped the back of his head. Shut up or I'll rip your mouth apart. Their relationship had deteriorated to this extent. It was only thanks to Aunt Shin's desire to torment Lin Suisu that they were still getting married. When Sheniji was well, she would never have allowed someone of Lin Suisu's background near her son, but now that Sheniji was disabled, no well-matched family wanted their daughter to marry him. Aunt Shin initially preferred me as her daughter-in-law, but a few months ago, Sheniji was determined to be with Lin Suisu. And she couldn't ask me to take over anymore. Lin Suisu's family loved money, right? Aunt Shin simply gave them 300,000 in one go to abide Lin Suisu. After taking the money, her family happily handed over Lin Suisu's household registration book. Initially, Lin Suisu, motivated by money, was willing to care for Sheniji. Only after being tricked into marriage did she realize she was sold to the Shin family, and Aunt Shin wouldn't give her a penny more. Divorce. Don't even think about it. Isn't it a love that shakes the heavens? Then lock it down. Sheniji saw me. He looked at me from afar, his gaze lingering on my legs, showing longing. Aunt Shin never showed up. It was a blatant slap in the face to Lin Suisu, but I didn't understand. Had the Shin family also given up on Sheniji? Sitting at the relatives' table, Shen Yuanyan saw me and quietly gave me an okay sign. This was her plan. In the middle of the wedding, she planned to reveal all the moments Sheniji and I shared over the years. According to her, Sheniji had feelings for me, and he would surely regret and possibly cancel the wedding publicly when the time came. This way, not only could the wedding be disrupted, but Lin Suisu's face could also be slapped hard. However, she conveniently omitted that this would also put me in an embarrassing situation. Her calculations were too loud, and I had to quietly make a few adjustments. Hey. Isn't this Shinichi's little follower? A familiar voice. I turned around and saw his brother who used to make things difficult for me by Shinichi's side. Look at that gaze. Still can't forget the disabled. Huh? You don't have some special fetish, do you? His words were frivolous, disrespecting both me and Shinichi. If Shohao doesn't want to eat this meal, then get out. Shinichi appeared beside me at some point, rebuking his former brother. Shohao looked at us contemptuously. You still think you are someone, seeing you disabled, I pity you. Let me tell you, your dad has already brought your 12-year-old half-brother home. I was surprised to hear that the Shin family still had an illegitimate child. It seemed that Uncle Shin had given up on Shinichi, and as for Aunt Shin, never mind. Zhou Hao, get out. Shen Yiji was on the verge of rage, but unfortunately, he couldn't stand up to hit him. Instead of leaving, Zhou Hao casually sat down. Get out, Shen Yiji, what are you causing now? Lin Suesu came over and kicked Shen Yiji's disabled leg angrily. Aren't I embarrassed enough today? Lin Suesu then started hitting and scolding Shen Yiji. Forget it, sister-in-law, give some face to young Master Shen in public. Zhou Hao laughed loudly. Besides, an old lover is here, he said, turning his gaze towards me. I didn't want to create a scene now, but Zhou Hao was just too despicable, in this life as he was in the last. I grabbed a bottle of red wine from the table and splashed it at him, warning him in his stunned gaze, how you insult Shen Yiji is your business. But keep your mouth clean about me, otherwise, I don't mind exposing all the shady things you've done behind the scenes to the Shen family. Take for example, President Lin's preferences, in my past life. Zhou Hao loved to introduce various types of girls to those executives with deviant gaze. How you insult Shen Yiji is your business. But keep your mouth clean about me, otherwise, I don't mind exposing all the shady things you've done behind the scenes to the Shen family. Take for example, President Lin's preferences, in my past life. Zhou Hao loved to introduce various types of girls to those executives with deviant tastes. President Lin was one of those favors he found for Shen Yi. When I mentioned President Lin, Zhou Hao instantly became as docile as a quail. Xiao He, Shen Yi's voice choked as he called out to me, I'm sorry. I really didn't know how hard life would be after becoming disabled. His confession was suddenly interrupted by the big screen turning on. I saw Shen Yuanyan stand up excitedly. 23, Jianghe. Why don't you go and stop the wedding? It's set for early next month. Yuan Yan, you wouldn't like, how could I possibly like my cousin? Okay, it's a bit, but he's my cousin, it's definitely impossible. That's why I want to find a good sister-in-law for my cousin, though no images were shown on the screen. My conversation with Shen Yuanyan was clearly heard by everyone. The already chaotic wedding became even more disorderly. Shen Yuanyan screamed for the playback to be stopped. And Lin Suisui stepped forward aggressively and started hitting her. She was cursing loudly, and several people couldn't stop her. I couldn't help but marvel. Indeed, how could a girl raised in a rural family with a preference for sons over daughters be a delicate flower? Thinking back to our conversation in the restaurant, how tranquil and content she appeared, it all seemed so ironic to me. I quietly left the scene amidst the chaos, with Shen Yi's calls echoing behind me. 24. I heard about what happened next from others. After Shen Yuanyan's disgraceful intentions were exposed, her parents confronted her brother in a huge argument. They believed it must have been something Shen Yi did that led Shen Yuanyan to develop inappropriate feelings. Already disappointed in Shen Yi, Uncle Shen completely gave up on him. Even Aunt Shen reluctantly abandoned her own son. Thankfully, the mother of his illegitimate child had passed away. They could just treat him as their own son and nurture the relationship. Lin Suisui was on the verge of madness, her reputation destroyed, and known as a shrew. She wanted a divorce, but the Shen family wasn't going to let her go. They blamed her for ruining their son. If it weren't for her seducing Shen Yi, he and I would have been a couple. Given my feelings for Shen Yi, how could I not have saved him in that accident? If anyone had to lose a leg, let it be me, and let Shen Yi marry me. Such an opportunity for good publicity was naturally welcomed by the Shen family. Their scheming was meticulous, and my last shred of sympathy for the Shen family vanished. 25. Half a year later, Shen Yi committed suicide. Before dying, he took Lin Suisui with him. It was said that Lin Suisui had connected with Zhou Hao, who quietly introduced Shen Yi to some old men with peculiar tastes. Afterwards, when Shen Yi woke up, he completely lost his mind. He cried admitting his mistakes, saying he had been blinded back then, while cursing Lin Suisui to a terrible fate. In his delirium, he spoke of changing time once more. Determined to choose Jianghe this time, he hired someone to sneak into his house and replace Lin Suisui's usual health supplements with sleeping pills. While Lin Suisui was asleep, he set the house on fire, burning himself and her together. 26. After Shen Yi's death, I received a letter. It was sent by Shen Yi, presumably filled with unproductive confessions. I didn't even bother to open the envelope, throwing it straight into the trash. Starting over, impossible. Heaven doesn't grant wicked people another chance, and even if it did, no matter how many times we repeated, I would never waver for him again. I have clear life goals, and I will only strive to better myself.